Well, apparently, the people want to hear of Boxcar Joe, the magic hobo. The saga begins where most of my tales of what the fuck just happened did. Dark Heresy. Back when I didn't know how the rules worked, actually I still don't, on purpose. Back then I cared. I was shown a random character generator for the system. What I ended up with was a guy who had only two real talents: playing his bass guitar and running. He was mostly broke, only owning the clothes on his back, his bass guitar, and a couch that was in remarkably good shape. He was a psyker, one of the really weak ones. So weak it was actually impossible to tell in character if he was. He had a look that could only be described as business casual if it was slept in, for about a week. When he was described to my group, one of my friends remarked, "So you're playing some sort of magic hobo?" That's where the name comes from. The original name that was rolled for was immediately discarded for the moniker of Boxcar Joe, the Magic Hobo. If you give me a minute, I'll start typing up the shit that happened. First mission for the Inquisitor. I wasn't in the group yet. They landed in the hive where I was living to investigate some sort of disappearance of an associate. Boxcar Joe was trying to remember where he put his bottle of Sacre. They met up with some local arbitrators, got some leads, and went hunting. Boxcar Joe played his bass with a rhythm so perfect it created an impromptu dance party in the lower hive. The acolytes got into a heated fight just outside the pub where Boxcar Joe was trying to drink his lunch in peace. He stepped out, and this is where I became aware of my surroundings. On my left, a tech priest, some sort of imperial assassin, two guardsmen, and someone who looks like they just stepped out of a pulp PI novel from the 50s. Trenchcoat, fedora, whole shebang. On my right, 50 gene stealers, give or take. I grabbed my bottle and chucked it at the Xenos. I won't lie and pretend I remember all the numbers, but the bottle hit a hive tyrant that was invisible for some reason. Said hive tyrant had its eyes burned by the pure alcohol. Hive tyrant thrashed into bridge. 30 plus tons of concrete and other building materials fell, killing all but two gene stealers. One is shot by the detective, the other Joe kicks in the face so hard it gets decapitated. I then look over at the stunned group. "Off-worlders, yeah? You have to watch the local cockroach population. Bastards get real uppity every couple of years." I was then shanghaied into the group. I'm not going to tell all the Dark Heresy related tales, but he lasted pretty much the entire campaign. Whenever he was directly involved in a confrontation, all rolls would go right to either side of the spectrum. Every other roll was a crit or a crit fail. In the end, he got sucked into the warp, surfing his couch. This isn't the end of the story. About a month later, I was running a Shadowrun game, 4th if it matters. They were all rolling up characters, and there was one new guy who wasn't there for the Dark Heresy game. He opted for a random creation thing. Ended up with a technical pacifist hobo street shaman who lived on a couch in a downtown alleyway. He owned a bass guitar, aviator shades that looked slightly too big for him, and his couch was even described as in remarkably good shape. We all joked that 2 different computers with 2 different random generators had created Boxcar Joe. After explaining why it was so fucked up to the new guy, he laughed and named his character Boxcar Joe, the Magic Hobo. The game went along normally for a while, and then the first combat happened. Boxcar Joe grabbed a can of tomato soup, spent a point of edge, grabbed 6 dice, and let fly at one of the guys trying to mug him. We had a rule when it came to exploding dice. Every other time a die explodes, the intended effect gets bigger. 27 hits later, all 7 thugs, one of whom was hiding around the corner, were dead from the side effects of that thrown can. 1 gun also discharged into a passing truck, instantly killing the driver with a headshot and bringing the delivery van to a crashing halt into the entrance of the alley. Boxcar Joe starts freaking out because stopping the thugs cost him his dinner. Before anyone in the group could console him, the back door of the delivery van popped open, revealing the randomly rolled for cargo. Assorted foodstuffs. The game lasted about 6 months, and in the second to last session, Boxcar Joe lost control of a spell and got thrown into a magic portal out of reality. After that game, a couple of our players went their separate ways. We played some games with some new guys, and then I ran into one of the dudes who left. He had a story to tell about Boxcar Joe. Turns out, she played in a Delta Green game, and one of the guys in the group, using some form of random generator, ended up creating Boxcar Joe. When she met him for the first time in the game, she started laughing about the character, saying he sounded like someone from an earlier game, Boxcar Joe the Magic Hobo. At this point, according to her telling, the group fell silent. They showed her the sheet. Name: Boxcar Joe, the Magic Hobo. They then informed her that it was a running joke for a couple of local groups, where a musically inclined magic hobo with a couch in surprisingly good shape had turned up in more than a few random character generators. Part of the running joke was that Boxcar Joe played merry hell with the dice gods and the laws of probability. So then I asked her to find out when these games happened in relation to ours. After doing some math and a little bit of guesswork, I made an interesting discovery. Firstly, due to a combination of game schedules and campaign lengths, it seemed as though Boxcar Joe was not in any 2 games at once. In parallel running games, yes, but if one was on a Tuesday and so was another, something would happen that would amount to Boxcar Joe going away for that one session, like the guy being sick. Secondly, every time Boxcar Joe has left a game, he hasn't died. At least, not in a way that the body was ever found. Sucked into a portal, thrown off a cliff, Geller field failure, etc. Almost certain death in every case, but no body ever found. Sometimes the game ends and Boxcar Joe just hitches a ride out of town or something, never to be seen again. As a result, I have a sneaking suspicion that every appearance of the character Boxcar Joe is in fact the same person. As far as my personal theory goes, I have 2 pieces of evidence in my favor. Every instance of his appearance that I can find involved both a random character generator and the laws of probability going right out the window. The implications of this same person appearing in no particular order, Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, Shadowrun, Exalted, Old and New Worlds of Darkness, Deadlands, Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green, DRYH, Star Wars, Made, 6 different GURPS games, D&D, Faerun, Eberron, Dark Sun, Spelljammer, and at least 2 homebrew settings, Fantasycraft, Spycraft, and about 6 different homebrew games? Fucked if I know. Not sure if I want to. A friend of mine once pointed out that if we swapped the couch out for a phone booth, he would bear an uncanny resemblance to the Doctor. I'd rather not think on that possibility too hard.
This recording has been brought to you by my kind supporters over on Patreon. Thank you all for your support.